Princeton University. I teach religion, and I'm the chair of African American Studies. Small town on the coast of Mississippi, Moss Point, Mississippi, named after the moss that dangles from a magnolia tree. My religion was important. I wouldn't call it a religious household. You know, I grew up Catholic. My mother converted to Catholicism when she married my father, who was raised Catholic, but he didn't really attend Mass. But my mother would wake us up and take us to church. I went to Morehouse in their early admit program, so I jumped out in my junior year. So at the age of 16, I went to college and went to Morehouse, and there I was drenched in Baptist waters. Yeah, it was a seeking, trying to answer some questions that I don't think the languages that I grew up with could have helped me answer. Was really inspired by my philosophy teacher, who was a seminary-trained philosopher of religion, Baptist preacher, Aaron Parker. So I found myself joining his church. Still wasn't satisfied. Radicalized at Morehouse. So found Islam interesting, attractive. So I took Shahada under H. Rap Brown. That didn't last long either, but I was seeking. Some people might call it a holy roller, who knows? I wanted to do what Professor Parker did. He's an aspiring teacher who was very, very attentive to me and my potential. And I said, I want to do that. And I didn't know what doing that entailed. And a friend of mine, because I was also politically active, student government president and the like, and a friend of mine had heard of this new PhD program in African American Studies at Temple. And so I applied and I got in and went to Philadelphia to work with Malefi Asante for a little bit. No, I got a master's in that program, but I was dissatisfied from the beginning. So no matter what I was doing, no matter what my politics, how my politics expressed itself, or what I was trying to do in terms of my religious quest, I was still reading everything I could get my hands on. And I just thought it wasn't challenging. I wasn't getting what I needed. And so I was at a conference at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It's a major conference on African American Studies. This was at the time when Henry Louis Gates Jr. and Malefi Asante were at the height of their conflict. Signifying Monkey and the Afrocentric idea. Both were invited to select graduate students to come to the conference. Malefi Asante invited me along with another. I gave a paper, and all of the bigwigs were in the audience, and that's when I found out that Cornel West wanted to meet me. And so got a chance to meet Cornel, and he invited me to come to Princeton. Cornel taught it. He was a professor of religion, and I wanted to come work with him. So, I'm interested in, and in the religion department at Princeton, you have religion, ethics, and politics. So I could do what I love doing just from this angle. And once I started, I got hooked. Yeah, if I wasn't teaching, I'd probably be preaching. Somewhere, somehow, in some context. It's my vocation. I'm a liberal arts professor to the core. Yeah, there's a Socratic dimension for me. Not to say that there's not a Socratic dimension to preaching, but really kind of creating the context for students to learn. I think where the two blur, at least for me, is in that sense of calling, trying to nurture the soul, right? Trying to nurture the character, feeding students the material that will allow them to become or to reach for their better angels. In that sense, I'm doing what a preacher would do.